a new episode of the Habibis 3 Game Developers Drinking Good Arab Tea. My name is Rami and I'll be your host for this episode.
My name's Osama Darius, and I'm your co-host.
My name is Fawzi Mesmar. That's it.
And Fawzi is just not. We have like a three-tier system at this point. The host, the co-host, and then we have the co-co-host.
Yeah, I'm too tired to battle that.
Just not even hosting. Fawzi is also here.
Now I feel bad. You can
You win, Osama.
No, I don't want it anymore.
I am defeated.
Aww. How are you?
Good, you?
I'm pretty good. Did you skip Fawzi again? Did you just like I asked how are you too, and you just kick it back to me? No, Fawzi.
Maybe the you was me.
I'm so sorry.
I'm defeated.
The theme of the episode is Fawzi is also here.
I'm here, I guess.
I feel terrible now. Thank you both for making me feel terrible. This is on you.
We have about 50 minutes to cheer you back up. Which we're going to try because I guess we have a bunch to talk about. But before we continue, Fawzi, how are you doing?
I'm okay. I'm tired.
Tired?
It's been lots of work. It's an exciting week. There's a lot going on at work, but man, I'm beat.
Isn't there a thing you tweeted about it yesterday? Like there's a thing coming up, a thingy.
Yeah, there's the Ubisoft Forward this week.
Ooh,
right.
Exciting.
On September 10th. Yeah, so we'll be talking about a whole bunch of stuff.
Nice.
Looking forward to
I
that.
mean, by the time this comes out, that's going to be tomorrow.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
If you're listening, tune into Fawzi's thing. I'm very excited. I mean, I'm obviously excited about what. If you're excited about it, I'm excited about it.
Well, we're gonna be talking a whole bunch about the Mario and Rabbids and some of the other games that we're releasing this year. So it's pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah, I can imagine it's busy though.
It's busy, like getting ready and putting everything together. I'm so excited for people to get their hands on this game, and start playing it and read people's feedback and everything that goes with the game launch. But the road to launch is always interesting.
I was about to say, I've been through this dance a few times on games where 6 people worked on it, and I think the stakes are a little different on the skill you're working on.
Still, it's a game launch, regardless of how many people come in. It's your heart and soul in a thing that you love, working tireless hours.
I'm working with 6 souls. With 6 hearts and souls. If half of my team is unhappy with the response, I have to help out 3 people. Right.
Yeah.
Your case, we're talking about a lot more. So
I know
a lot of people. But
I mean, that's the thing, right? I appreciate the sort of you're right. A game launch is a game launch, and it's hard for everybody. But especially on sort of when you're overseeing or helping launch a thing of this scale, I can imagine it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's a lot of excitement, and luckily I work with a lot of awesome people that are helping out. So it's never just the one person, with these kinds of things. It's so many people involved. But it's I think I cut off Osama. He was saying something, but I was going to say something in the same vein.
You deserve it. You deserve cutting us off.
It's the vulnerability,
Yes.
It's like any art thing, you put it in front of the world, and now the world can think or say whatever they want, and it's could be a lot of awesome stuff, could be not, and you're vulnerable and ready to face it, and it's that's always a little bit of anxiousness, excitement, and all of that.
I can imagine.
It's true. It's exciting, but it makes you nervous.
It's mostly excitement right now. Yeah, it's mostly excitement because
I can
believe in this thing. We love it. I can't wait for people to play it.
I still can't get over that my Habibi Fawzi is working on a Mario game. It's just it's wild.
It's crazy. It's a bucket list item for sure. It was one of those items that I think when I was a kid was on the bucket list, but then I took it off because I was like, oh, that's impossible. you know.
Yeah.
Right.
So it wasn't even on the bucket list because it wasn't that feasible. But here we are. So life
Here
is
we
crazy that
are.
way.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see more when people are listening to this tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's super exciting.
You've
Uh,
inspired me.
I
I'm
can't
gonna
wait
add Walk on the Moon back to my list.
Whatever you do,
do
Osama,
that.
if you want to get to the moon,
Yeah,
do not
the
put the spaceship in a dive.
No. Why?
No diving.
In zero gravity, that's gotta be safe.
Nope. Nope. No
It
diving.
depends. Osama, if you have Amazon Prime, you
Mm-mm.
eventually will get a trip to the moon included.
So yeah, I watched a thing I could talk
Okay.
about. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's a thing that Fawzi mentioned last week. This is probably my favorite TV show that I've watched in a really long time. It's called Mo. The
Mm.
story about a Palestinian family. Oh my god, did I ever love that show? It spoke to me. It spoke to my soul. What the most shocking part about it is that the mother on the show is like my mom in so many different ways. I really
Oh
saw
yeah.
my mother in like in the way she speaks, in the way she like says Habibi, in the way like every little details. It was amazing. And the show itself like was equal parts really funny and extremely heart wrenching, extremely sad. And just went from one to the other. I was a fan based on your description, Fozy, and when I watched it, I was like, "Wow!" It blew me out of the water, and I saw all the little
It's really good.
nods. Oh, it is so good! It is so good. Um, I am yeah. I binged watched it. It's 8 episodes, and I finished them in. I want to say one sitting, but I probably got up at one point. Probably two sittings, but still, really good. Highly recommended show. I'm super happy it exists. I'm super surprised that it's on Netflix for everyone to watch. Because the subject of Palestinians and their rights is not one that generally makes it to mainstream. So pleasantly surprised that it's getting that much limelight and attention, and I'm super happy, super pleased.
And this dude is genuinely funny. Just the
He
way he
is.
speaks his
Mm-hmm.
lines
Mm-hmm.
is hysterical.
It is. It's true. He's a great
Yeah.
actor, and I could see him actually. Like he's been around for a while. Like I said, he used to do like stand up comedy. I used to watch him years and many years ago. But I think this could launch a TV and movie career for him. Just seeing how like this kind of range. This is it's special.
Yeah.
This is really
I mean, you
special.
can definitely feel he comes from that comic, like from that comedy background, right? Like,
Yeah.
because his delivery and his like his sort of like timing is just like on point for every single joke and every single line.
Hmm.
Just super good.
Absolutely. I love all the characters on it. I love the
Hmm.
topics that are being covered. I see myself in so much of it. It's so good. It's
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did
And the Iraqis on it, they speak with an Iraqi accent, which is not something you hear every day. So that's great too. The attention to detail, it's there.
yeah. Yeah. No, it's very genuine. I do appreciate that.
I think because he was
Absolutely.
involved in the show
Hmm.
generally, like he could avoid those movie tropes of like get an Arab guy who's supposed to be, I don't know, Palestinian in the show but speaks in an Egyptian accent. So it's kind of
Yep.
weird,
Yep.
you know. And he's there, goes like, no, 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 no. I'm gonna actually get a Palestinian guy to do a Palestinian role. I'm gonna actually get an Egyptian guy to do an Egyptian role.
Yep.
Um, and that's kind of cool. So like it felt like it's a show that's winking at me. At the same time, that's also winking
Yes.
at like
Yeah.
the general American audience, and that was cool.
They're different
Yes.
winks, though.
Yeah. They
The
are.
wink at us is like, "Hey, see us."
Hmm.
The wink at the Americans is like, "Hey, come on, come on, come on." Which I thought was smart.
Yep. The reoccurring "this is a branding issue" joke, it gets me
Yeah.
every time. It's so good. It's so good. Yeah, I highly recommend it. If you walk away from one recommendation from today, uh, this is the one.
Yep.
I hope
I don't
they
think I
make
have
another
anything
one
that
of
beats
those.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's going to be a season 2 for sure. There
Has
has
to
to
be,
be.
right?
Yeah, they can't leave it
Mm.
like this. There's not enough.
No, I agree.
I
Cool.
watched a TV
Yeah.
show. Speaking of
No.
TV shows,
What'd you
Okay.
watch?
I mean, I watched a show called Sandman, based on the comic books, and I
Ooh,
know
I've read the
that's a
comic
topic that
books.
Osama, of course, you have.
Yeah.
So
I
before I
haven't seen
talk
the
about the
show, but
show,
I did
actually, I'm
read the
curious.
comics.
Tell me about the comic books. What do you think of the comic books?
Like this is going to be extremely I won't say controversial, but they actually it took me a lot of time to get into them compared to other comics. They are strange
Ah,
and weird and not my normal cup of tea. So like I actually started reading the first book, didn't get into it. Friends urged me to go back and said, no, there's something there. Went back to it and eventually liked it. I won't say I fell in love. It's not like, you know, I have a type of comic or several types of comics that I like. It's not that type of comic for me. That
mm-hmm.
said, I really acknowledge that it's well written and there's a lot of of good things in it, you know, that I enjoyed. I'm eager to watch a TV show. I heard that the TV show is really good and might address some of the things I didn't like about the comics as much. So we'll see. This is not really a criticism. It's more of a not my cup of tea. There's a difference between saying I think this and this and bad and saying that it was a little too weird for me. You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah, it's good to hear, because I got curious about the comic books after watching the show. Obviously, I've known about the comic books for a long time, just never really got around to read them. And
Hmm.
yeah, but like I watched the show, and as I was watching the show, I'm googling the characters to see what they look like in the comics. And I can start by saying this as somebody who did not read the comics but has watched the shows. The casting is superb. Like just doing a
Hmm.
quick googling in between those things, it looks pretty awesome. Like the main character almost looks identical. A lot of the other characters, I'd say like this show has been like really well casted, and like their choice
Hmm.
has been spot on. Um,
That's
the other
exciting.
thing that I find interesting is the pacing of the show. It makes you it So the show is very whimsical, and it seems like from the
Hmm.
description of the comics that it's stayed to the heart of what the comics were all about. It's very whimsical. It's
Hmm.
very strange, and it's like a
Hmm.
world of its own. And there's like all kinds of like odd but interesting things happening.
Yeah.
There's an underlying dark tone the entire time. You could feel that through the show, but there's also like an element of joy and magic. I guess is one of them. It's like mystical as part
Hmm.
of the show.
Hmm.
It's definitely like adult themed, dark themes, but at the same time, it's not the boys. You know, it's
Hmm.
uh, it's a more
Yeah.
like. Mystical fantasy set in between realities kind of thing
Yep.
that I appreciate. I think like it's an interesting world that has been created, and like as the titular character is involved with dreams, it's very fitting. The whole
Hmm.
thing feels like a dream or a nightmare, depending on the sequence of where that is. And the pacing of
That's.
it is I
Mhm.
find interesting because it feels like it's a show that is made out of a serialized comic in which like
Okay.
an episode starts and you go like, okay, they seems to have like forgot a lot of things that happened, or not forgot it. It's like, okay, there's events that happened. Now we're starting on a
Mm,
fresh new scene, and then there's this
mm,
arc and story that evolves. So like you as a viewer go like, okay, I'm now ramping up into like, oh, okay, what's going on? I'm interested, and then there is a short ending, and then like 2 episodes later another similar arc kind of evolves in that way. Ultimately everything is tied together, but it
mm,
feels like these are like 5 issues, and they made an episode about them. Then there was like 6 other issues, and they made another episode about them. So that pacing was kind of carried through to the show, which I found to be interesting. I didn't
Interesting.
think that it was bad or anything. I didn't think that it like broke my attention span to the show. It's just like an interesting pacing. I found it felt like the and I want to read the comics, and maybe if you watch the show, and you can maybe confirm that to me. But it felt like they
It's on
wanted
my
to
list.
be so close to the subject matter of the comics that they
Mhm.
followed the comics even in the pacing, so to say.
Mhm. Well, now I'm really
Very cool
excited to
show.
watch it. I mean,
I
yeah.
recommend it.
Uh,
I recommend it. It's
have
very interesting.
Have you either of you read the comic Saga?
No.
I
No.
have basically not read comics. Just
Okay. All right. All I was going to say is Saga is another example of a really weird comic book that was extremely popular that I wasn't a big fan of. So it's not there's a category of things where I like, and it's not a criticism, just a thing. There's a category of types of books that I need my stories to a certain extent. I need things to kind of have an explanation, like not just because we decided. And otherwise, I have a hard time just letting go of you know of like the world building that's not based on something human or something real or something historical somehow for my mind to latch onto. So
Hmm.
that's a me thing. That's not a everybody thing. It's
Oh,
totally
that's
legitimate,
interesting.
very valid for other people to like them. Yeah, it's just it's the same thing when I'm like, yeah, Smash Brothers. I wish everything had the same art style like Disney Infinity. That's a me thing. It doesn't mean that's wrong. It's just like I like things a certain way, and I acknowledge that. And after years, I learned to figure out what I liked more or less and why. So that's all it is. So, but I'm excited to watch the TV show anyway. I want to see how it differs from the
Yeah,
comic.
yeah. I'd like to hear what you think. Like for me, I like Japanese literature, so not necessarily comics, like some novels. There's like a pact of writers that, as they write fiction, they blend the real and the surreal. So like
Mm,
like it will be modern everyday life in Tokyo, and then like monsters are appearing from the shadow before they disappear to something else. And
hmm
it's stated in the novels usually in a very matter of fact kind of thing, and no explanation is ever given. Um,
hmm
so some writers did that even from like way back in the day, like World War era Japanese novelists were like using this interesting jump from the real to the surreal kind
hmm
of thing. And I've always been fascinated about that type of fiction, just because of like what
hmm
happens if you open up the doors to your imagination and then just let it flow without bothering with like giving it the explanation in real time. It's very
hmm
hit and miss, of course, because sometimes you go like, all right, so you completely lost me at this point, to like, oh wow, okay, that's an
Yeah,
interesting world, and how does that dynamic work out with those characters in a world in which these things can happen.
yeah,
And
exactly.
Sandman has that to some extent, in which
Yeah,
like, okay, so this is modern world, everything makes sense. No, nothing makes sense anymore. I don't understand the rules of this surreal part of the story exactly,
Mhm.
but um there's some rules enough for me to be able to suspend my disbelief and just move forward with it. But I could totally see why some people would not like it, because like and some people, they want the logic of the fictional world, even if it's crazy, but there needs to be rules so that you'd be able to
yeah.
deduce what's going to happen, how things make sense, and all of that.
Exactly. That's actually one of the reasons why I no wasn't. I mean, again, not criticizing other people's fandoms. Don't come at me, but it's one of the reasons. Like, I didn't ever really get into the Harry Potter books because it was just like magic. But I really liked the book by Patrick Rothfuss, which essentially is the same story. It's about a kid who goes into a magic school and learns magic, but that magic had rules and rules I could understand, and like it almost felt like science meet magic, but it's a fantasy world. There was nothing like that. It was just enough where I like you felt grounded. You didn't feel like there's going to be just a plot device around the corner that's going to change everything. All the magic felt grounded, and that's just my preference. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, I
And in
get
a
it.
way, Star Wars does this. Like Star Wars like has limits. They sometimes break them, but not often. You know what I mean? Like you kind of, if you saw something too out of whack, you'd be like, that doesn't feel that feels too much. But that feeling, that being grounded, like still exists, and I kind of need it because otherwise, it feels like Deus Ex Machina all the time with just
Right.
random stuff
I
happening.
mean, just to sort of like point this out, if you do want to come at Osama, please email info@thehabibis.com.
Don't
Just
come
in
at me.
case. Just
I'm
if
totally happy with people liking things that I don't like.
just in case, if you still wanna, like that's your option.
Oh no, what
Well,
have I
Osama,
done?
speaking about Harry Potter, actually
But
makes me
I
want to
mean,
make a
yeah, I think
confession.
I think I'm somewhere in the middle. I think
Yeah.
I'm somewhere in the middle. Some things I do need to have an explanation. I think it depends on the world. You know, if the world is like the world is weird and nothing makes sense, then I'm okay with the world being weird and nothing making sense. But if the
Mhm.
world feels like it should make sense, then it's a little iffier. You know, I think we talked about this with the Marvel stuff as well, where there used to be sort of like a very coherent idea of magic is advanced science, and then they went magic is magic, and now they went
Yeah.
gods are real, and it's like,
Yeah.
okay,
Just pick
okay,
one. Pick your
mm,
lane. Like it
hmm
doesn't matter what you choose. Just
just pick
choose
one.
something.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I think it's sort of a transitional phase. I actually was rewatching with Julie. I was rewatching Captain America, the Winter Soldier the other day,
Mm.
and my God, that is a very good movie.
Very good movie. Yes.
Very good movie.
Yeah.
Like did not expect that to hold up that well with like themes and everything, but nope, it just totally just works.
Yeah. I remember at
Uh,
the time it came out, it was my favorite MCU movie. Like it
yeah.
was just like, wow, this is the new gold standard.
Yep. Next is Guardians of the Galaxy, so that's also very exciting.
All right,
Um,
I love that
Yeah.
movie.
because I
That's a fun one. It was a really
yep
fun one.
yep. So excited for that, and then sadly, I think we go into Avengers: Age of Ultron, which is not my favorite.
No, that wasn't
Pro-
it wasn't
Probably,
perfect. It was
yeah.
important. It set up a lot of important plot
Oh
points.
yeah,
But yeah.
but that didn't make it good, sadly.
Yeah. There's still parts of that movie that confuse me. Like I'm like I don't understand why this happened. There
Yep.
was not enough like leading up to it. But
Yep.
anyway.
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 I've been playing a video game.
What did you play?
Well, I've been playing two video games.
Okay.
One of them is Destiny,
that doesn't
um,
count.
and
You don't
I
count.
I do want
That goes for granted.
to. I do want to hop into Destiny for 1 second because they just re-released the Kingsfall raid, which is a raid from Destiny 1 6-player endgame activity, and it was kind of the raid. So there were two raids that were sort of like critical to Destiny's sort of evolution in terms of game design.
Hmm.
The first one was called the Vault of Glass, which was the first raid that Destiny ever released in Destiny 1. And it really defined sort of like the basics of what a raid is, the 6-player activities, communication is sort of like your challenge, sort of like just how raids were set up. They re-released that recently, and then the second one was Kingsfall, which came out as part of the third expansion of Destiny 1,
Hmm.
and it just stepped everything up. Like Kingsfall was long, it was complicated, it had interesting mechanics. It really required fire teams to like, these 6-player teams to play at their best to beat it. And I think if it hadn't been for the Taken King expansion that Kingsfall was a part of, I don't think Destiny would have survived past Destiny 1. It really reinvigorated like the player base, and that coming back then is obviously super important, that raid, and very nostalgic to a lot of players. So I went back in, got a crew of 6, and they had a cool challenge where if you beat it within the first 2 weeks, there was a specific merch item that you can buy, like this ring with the face of the bad guy from the raid. Um, so I really wanted to hit that, and it was brutal. It was really good, but it was really brutal. Um, it's a really clever raid where the mechanic is basically playing hot potato with 6 people. That's kind of the entire point of the raid, is you have to learn how to play hot potato.
Hmm.
And we were stuck on one fight for like 3 hours, just like over and over, like somebody dropping the ball, somebody shooting the wrong place, somebody not going the right way, and it was a struggle. But then when you beat a boss like that, the feeling is just incredible. Um, and then we actually had to give up end of the night because it was like 3 a.m. at that point, and one of us was starting to fall asleep. So we had to give up, and then
Wait, fall asleep not because it was a boring thing, but
no,
because it
because it was
was
6 a.m. where they were living.
Oh, okay.
They'd been playing.
That's
We had
different.
been playing for 8 hours straight at that point.
Wow.
That's
So on
a
the final
long time.
boss, yep,
What? There's no
yep.
save feature?
No, there is, but you're trying to beat it, and we only had a few days left to get the ring. So we thought we'd get as far as possible, and weekend nights are the easiest nights to play.
Mm-hmm.
So you basically get two of them, right? Friday night and Saturday night.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't want to like give up too early. We wanted to see how far we could push it, and then one of us started like dozing off and like walking off the level. So we just went like, okay, yeah, they're not going to be sharp for mechanics. So the next night we got back together and just instantly beat the final boss in the first try.
Wow.
So I think all of us were not very sharp but it's kind of hard to tell when you've been playing for 8 hours whether you're still sharp and playing well. Still an incredible fight. Just really well designed, really, really sort of like epic and large scale and clever, and just I love Bungie's game design so much. But that's not actually the game I want to talk about. I just wanted to be excited about that King's Fall's back. The game I
Good.
want to talk about is called Stacklands.
Stack lands?
Stacklands. And this is just an obsession of mine right now. It's made by Sokpop, the Sokpop Collective, which we've mentioned before. A bunch of, well, they're no kids anymore, but I'm going to call them kids anyway. Bunch of kids from the Benelux making like tiny games together. Most of them are funded through a Patreon, and then they sell like expanded versions of games that do well on the Patreon on Steam. Stacklands is one of them. It is a card game that you play against the clock. And basically all the cards are like things from, basically think like early Age of Empires. You got like a villager, you got a rock, you got a tree, and basically by putting cards on each other they have specific effects. So you say you put a villager on a rock, then your villager is going to punch the rock, and then the rock card is going to give you a stone card.
I see.
And then you can use the rock card multiple times with that villager before the rock card like has no endurance left and then disappears. You sell stuff to buy booster packs. The booster packs give you new cards, and then you use those cards in increasingly ridiculous combinations to get certain effects. Now, every turn is called a moon, and a moon has a specific amount of time, and you can set whether you want that to be really fast or kind of slow as basically difficulty setting. But basically, at the end of each moon, you need to have enough food for at least one of your villagers. If you don't have enough food to feed all your villagers or any of your villagers, it's game over. If you don't have enough food to feed some of them, they will turn into a corpse, but you can continue playing. And basically, the way they use the booster packs, the way they use the economy, the way the game sort of evolves, but you're still just moving cards around. It's just really, really, really fun.
That sounds great, actually. It sounds really like my cup of tea. I love card games, and I love stacking things. I am the target audience for this.
It looks
Yeah,
pretty
I really,
interesting.
yeah, it's so good. It's so simple. It's so good. Like most sock pop games, it doesn't tutorialize much, so a lot of it feels a bit like playing alchemy. The game where you put things together to see what the effect is.
My favorite
Yeah.
type of tutorial. Just
Right,
try things.
and then the other thing is sometimes if you get stuck, the solution is just buy more booster packs until you stop being unlucky and get the card you need.
That sounds great. That's a good recommendation.
Yeah, really having a lot of fun with it.
Where are you playing
Cool.
it? Which device?
Steam.
Steam.
I'm sure it works well on Steam Deck because
That's what I needed to hear. That's it.
feels like it should work on Steam Deck. I haven't played it on my Steam Deck because I haven't played on my Steam Deck in a while.
I am the opposite. That's my most used console right now.
Osama, you're on the Steam Deck bandwagon.
I am on the Steam Deck bandwagon.
Well,
All
at
I need
least-
to do is like follow that tutorial to put Game Pass on my Steam Deck, and then I'm never.
Oh
leaving.
my god! I was about to say, at least finally we're done talking about Game Pass, and then this happened.
It didn't
was
wait
that
long
literally?
enough.
Was that literally what I just cut off? What you were
Yep.
saying?
Yes.
Oh my god! Perfect.
I was very
timing.
excited. Yeah.
No. I just need those two things to be combined, and then that's it.
I just need the Steam
all-powerful.
Deck to be smaller. That's all.
They're gonna. I mean, there's gonna be a form factor that's smaller for sure. They're
Please.
yeah. This is not the last Steam Deck you're gonna see. There's gonna be a Steam Deck 2, a 1.5. I guarantee it.
I'm
It's
just
too
excited
popular.
for the. I'm excited for the competitors right now.
Yeah, like I hope they make another Steam box like for TV. That's like really made for really easy pairing of controllers and stuff like that. Because the Steam Link felt I liked my Steam Link, but it fell a little bit short because it was complicated to do all those things. So
Right.
if they have like a Steam box, like a version like that, I think that would be a great. I don't know. Maybe the Steam Dock is going to be enough for the Steam Deck. We'll see. There's too many Steam things I want. So, have either of you played that game that's kind of went a little bit viral on Twitter? It's called Immortality, but
The Sam Barlow game.
yes, exactly. Have either of you tried it yet?
I wanted to, but I couldn't run it for whatever reason. How is it? You played it?
It's on Game Pass. You couldn't run it.
Oh yeah,
on-
Lahoui.
I had the weirdest issue that I think only me had, in which like whenever I wanted to watch the video trailer on the Xbox store, the
Yeah.
whole thing crashed.
Whoa, odd.
Yeah,
Okay.
it never happens, and it was just watching the trailer. So I was like,
Oh.
all right, I'll get back to that, and I was playing another game, but I'll talk about that later. So I'm curious now. Should I bump that up on my list?
Well, to be honest, I was even debating whether I should mention it or not because I didn't get enough time with it. I'm definitely intrigued, but right now what it is watching videos the game without context. So I'm watching a bunch of videos. I'm trying to piece together stories. I am involved, like I'm actually kind of engaged with it. I don't know if I'm having fun yet, and I definitely haven't figured out what's going on yet. I'm about an hour in. I have about an hour of playtime. I'm definitely going to go back. The thing is, the reason I have to like pick my time to play it is because the subject matter is somewhat mature, at least in some of the videos that I watched. So it's not a game you play while your kids are still awake type thing, if that makes sense. So I have to pick my battles and play it like there is nudity as an example. Like there were scenes with nudity. So and other subject matters that were harsh, like really violent setups and things like that. I'm going to go back to it, but I was curious if I could get a recommendation from either of you, and it seems like I can't. So I guess I'm gonna go back to it and bring you a recommendation next week.
I mean, Immortal, like with most Sam Barlow games, like their structure is clever.
Yeah.
But the themes are frequently not, shall we say, halal.
Yeah.
So they're the kind of games where I usually wait a few days to hear responses, and on this one, I think it might be a skip for me.
Okay,
But
that's fair.
very excited to hear what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I'm very excited to have some to share with y'all. So, Fawzi, you mentioned that you played a game.
Yeah, I was playing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Shredder's Revenge.
Oh my god!
Loved it. It's also on Game Pass, and it is so good.
It is so much fun. That game is crazy good.
Yeah,
It's crazy good.
Did you get a chance to play it with someone else?
Yeah. So we played it, a group of us.
Good.
And that was fun. The more you add people, the more fun it is.
It's true.
And it. So I played. I think it was Turtles in Time. Turtles in Time was the one that starts with a crane, like a giant crane, destroying a city.
Yes, I believe so. They
right?
all
That must.
merge into one right now in my mind.
I remember that because I remember that I played the Turtles in Time. I think on the arcades at first when it came out, and they had
Mhm.
this when you threw the one of the foot soldiers, you threw him directly at the screen. I don't know
Yes.
if you remember that part, but that
Yes.
part I loved.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
I
I was
think
like,
the original one had that. The arcade game had that too, right?
yeah, I'm talking about the arcade game.
No, because there was Ninja Turtles the arcade game, and then there was Ninja Turtles Turtles in Time, which is like a sequel to Ninja Turtles the arcade game. So I think the arcade game
Ah,
you could also throw. I could maybe I'm merging them in my head. I don't remember,
so
but
that's why I asked. I never played Back in Time, Turtles in Time. I think I've only played that later on. I never played that on. Was it Super Nintendo?
yes, it was on Super Nintendo.
So back in the day, I never played that on a Super Nintendo. I played the arcade game
Yeah, that's the
extensively.
one.
Yeah, and I think the Turtles in Time was based on that one.
Yes, it
And it started
was.
off with yes. So now I got my facts straight. And it's the
Yep.
one that starts off with Crane destroying New York City. I
Yes.
think.
So
Uh,
both of those had an arcade version and a home version. So the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the arcade game, had a arcade version, and then it
yeah.
had a NES version, and then
Okay.
Turtles in Time had an arcade release, and then had a Super NES version
Oh,
to
okay.
make it even more confusing. So you might have
Yeah,
played all of the above.
I might have because I remember playing a bunch of NES Ninja Turtles games.
Yes.
Those were not good. I don't know.
Are you talking about the one
One
that's
of
like
them was good,
yeah?
and the other one was just impossible.
Yes, the impossible one is the one that never made it to the arcade. It's kind of a platformer, but you also have parts where you're on the city, right?
Yes.
Yeah, where you're riding the turtle mobile or whatever it's called. Yeah, that one wasn't great, but I loved it because I loved the turtles. It's only years later that I like came to terms that it was actually a bad game.
Yeah, I love the turtles back in the day. I would play any games with the turtles on it.
Exactly.
Um, so I just looked it up. So the ones that I liked on NES was Ninja Turtles 3, the Manhattan Project.
Ah.
That one was good on the NES. There was the other one, the Impossible one, was just Ninja Turtles. I think it was 2.
Mhm.
That was terrible. That I couldn't finish. It was like impossible to play. It's so difficult. Hitboxes are unfair and
Yeah.
all of this. But the one in the arcade like took it to the entirely different level. It was like so close to the cartoon, the
Yeah.
sound of the arcade system and all of that. And the reason why I'm talking about this more than Shredder's Revenge is because there's there's so much homage in Shredder's Revenge to that game.
Yes.
Like the whole throwing the enemy at the screen, they got that. They have the way like the turtle like when you get punched you fall on the floor, there's like disappointed this, like almost fainted kneeling on the ground situation. It's
Mhm.
identical. I think in the arcade when they used to say shell shocked when
Yes.
they
Yes.
fell on the floor and stuff like that. Yeah, so they have all of that, like how you eat the pizza, some of the sound effects. The animation is, of course, a lot more smooth than the old one, but
Mhm.
those guys, they know exactly what they're doing the entire time. Like they know that you have nostalgia to these games, and
Yes.
they
Mhm.
are, giving you like the nods. They're giving you all the stuff that you're coming into to play. And they added a lot of playable characters. So it's not just the 4 turtles. You also play as Master Splendor, which you couldn't do in the original. And he plays April O'Neil as well.
Yes, you do, which is amazing. I loved both those characters, and they all had they had their own personality and different moves. Like
Yeah.
I think I mentioned the game before because I had played it before. I think I mentioned it before in an episode.
Yeah, you
This
recommended it to me, and that's why I tried it out.
awesome, awesome. Like really, my favorite thing about it is it looks and feels the way I remembered those games were when they weren't that way. Like they added a lot more frames of animation, a lot more moves and things like that. But it looks and feels like as fun as like the same a similar experience as those games, which they nailed it. Really, they nailed it. They tapped into that nostalgia and. Yeah, I'm a big fan. I'm biased because I also know the people who made the game, but still, like, it's still
No, I
good.
don't know anyone who worked on that game, and I could tell you that it's superb. I really, really enjoyed it. So if you like that style of game, which is the side-scrolling beat 'em up, and if
Mhm.
you have any nostalgia for the Ninja Turtles at all, like this is the game. Like there's a
Yes.
lot of Ninja Turtles game that came out in recent years that trying to, reboot the franchise, or like based on the maybe the newer Turtles
Hmm.
iteration or art styles. But I have no love for those, just simply because that's not the stuff I
You
grew up
you
with.
weren't 8 years old when you saw that,
Exactly.
Exactly.
right?
Yeah. Well
Exactly.
put. Yeah.
Uh,
Um,
the Ninja Turtles is just a perfect IP. Like ninjas, I love ninjas. Pizza,
Yeah.
I love pizza. Uh,
Pizza's
turtles,
basically
who
a power
doesn't love
fantasy at
turtles?
my point. I can't eat pizza anymore. So just the idea of pizza as a power fantasy, I'm very into it.
Yeah. Did I ever mention that it's based on Daredevil? That the Ninja Turtles were based on Daredevil? Did y'all know
No,
that?
really,
So,
no.
yep. So Daredevil was taught martial arts by a character called Stick. The Ninja Turtles were taught martial arts by a character called Splinter. The
Okay.
the Daredevil fights a secret group of assassins named the Hand. The Turtles fight a secret group of ninja assassins called the Foot.
Oh, so
Amazing.
that's why they're foot soldiers.
They're foot soldiers, exactly. And they like the Daredevil gets his powers because something fell in his eyes, like an ooze. The Ninja Turtles become who they are because ooze fell on top of them, like that kind of thing. So there were a lot of parallels. And when fans asked Eastman and Laird if this was a reference, a direct reference, so they're like, "Yeah, absolutely. It was heavily inspired by Daredevil, even though the
No,
end result is completely different. It was heavily inspired by it."
Well, how about that?
I
Yeah.
did not
I,
know that.
I had no idea.
Huh. Well, speaking of things but slightly different, um,
Love that
Okay.
segue.
What a segue.
so okay, I'm gonna have to prefix this a little. So when I got into the industry, when I was just starting out, I noticed that the industry has a pretty strong like drinking culture.
Yeah.
So I created this myth that I only drink Coca-Cola,
Yes.
uh,
Specifically, a specific type
which
of Coca Cola. I
well, so
remember that.
that backfired on me terribly because it turns out that the Coca-Cola in the United States or in North America in general is made with high fructose corn syrup
Yep.
instead of cane sugar, so it tastes awful. So then people started buying Coca-Cola for me, which was terrible because it was bad Coca-Cola. And then so I added that I only drink cane sugar Coca-Cola, which is Coca-Cola with the original sugar, or
Mhm.
I don't know if it's original, but with good sugar. In the US, that's called Mexican Coke. And then so for 8 years of my life, I was fed only Coca-Cola,
Mm.
which turns out is not good for you.
No.
No.
Um, and it kind of became my brand, so I was stuck with it for a while. And then at some point, I decided, okay, I really need to stop with this Coca-Cola. I was gaining weight. COVID happened. I wasn't moving as much. I wasn't traveling as much. So I was pretty unhappy with that. So I decided to drop the Coke and instead drink Fanta because I don't like Fanta as much.
Mhm.
So I drank less of it. And then I started buying juice. So I started drinking orange juice and apple juice. And, it's healthier, but not by much.
Mhm.
It's still just sugar mostly, right?
Mhm.
So then a dear friend of mine told me about this thing that I'd never heard of that I just decided to check out because she swore it works, right?
Mhm.
So it's called Air Up and it's a water bottle.
Mhm.
It just has one little trick. It has a little smell pod, replaceable smell pod at the top.
Oh.
And the smell can be any of many things. It can be peach, it can be Coca-Cola or cola, I think. It can be watermelon, it can be apple, it can be any of those things. And you know that thing where they say that your smell and your taste are directly connected?
Mhm.
Hmm.
Their claim was effectively that if you put water in this bottle and have the smell pot, that your brain will be tricked into thinking you're drinking the thing you're smelling.
Mhm.
So obviously I called nonsense.
Yeah.
Because yes, of course that's how it works, but it's an additive thing. You have a taste and then you have a smell, and then that together adds up to a smell. But then I started thinking when COVID sort of was a thing, people started saying, well, I can't smell anymore, so my taste is gone too. And I'm like, maybe it does work, right? So I decided to get one, and I've been trying it for the past few weeks, and I swear to God, it just works. It just
Wait,
works. So I've just been drinking water for like 3 weeks now.
yeah, while
I've been
smelling Fanta.
while believing that I'm drinking peach, apple, watermelon, and I know it's not like my brain knows it, but I can't trick myself into not tasting it.
Hmm.
Like it really does taste like it really is the sensation of water having a flavor. So I just literally haven't bought any drinks in weeks, except for like a can of Fanta on the weekend.
That's super impressive, and I'm super happy for you. I don't know if I've ever mentioned this, but I have chronic sinus issues, so I actually have an incredibly weak sense of smell, which
Right.
in general is a good thing. And I've tried that same bottle, and it does not work for
Yeah.
me. Unfortunately, it tastes exactly like water, which
Right.
I mean, I'm not surprised, but I'm really, really happy that it'll work for 99% of the world's
Right. Yeah,
population.
you do need a sense of smell
Yes.
for it to work. Otherwise the whole idea doesn't work.
Doesn't work, exactly.
But yeah, no, I've just been incredibly impressed. And the other fun thing, if you have a sense of smell,
Thank you.
is also you can turn the flavor on and off by closing the place the smell comes out of. So you can basically just press it down and then you're drinking water. And you can pull
Hmm.
it up and then you have the flavor. But you can also just exchange the smell pot. So you can drink peach and then put the watermelon pot on and then you're drinking watermelon.
That's incredible.
And then you can switch it to, I don't know, any of the other flavors. And you can just drink from the same bottle but have it taste like 5 different things. It's wild. I really didn't think it would work. Um,
Wow,
but
man, that sounds cool.
I'm really happy
yeah,
for you.
also
Water is
just
good.
lost like, a bunch of kilos just purely from that switch.
That is
Yeah,
amazing.
I mean, like juice is great, but it's also high on calories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, high on sugars, high on calories. So now I feel like I'm having apple juice, but it's water. And you can also put like sparkling water in it. So especially with the cola flavors. Yep, it works.
Interesting.
Anyway, I just wanted to bring it up because I don't know, like I feel like a lot of Arabs have enough problems with calories and cholesterol and I don't know what. So might as well bring it up.
That sounds good, man. Because I've been going to Coke Zero mostly. Because I like to, if I want to drink something that's not water and I don't want to gain a lot of weight. But I'm gonna give this a go. Actually,
Yeah, get yourself some sparkling water, and when you order it, you can get like you can order some pods with it. They're about like so they're kind of like €5, €5 to €8 for a pod, and a pod goes for about 15 liters of water.
okay.
So you pay €5 for three, so it's about like €2 per pod, and then you can drink 15 liters of flavored water with it without the actually having a flavor. How do you explain that? I don't know how to explain it. It's just wild. If you have a sense of smell, I can really recommend it, Fawzi.
Wow. Okay, man. I have a sense of smell. I'm gonna give that a go.
Cool. I think we're running out of time,
that was
though.
that was a humble brag, huh, Fawzi?
A humble brag.
Didn't sound so humble to me. He was just like, I have a sense of smell.
He's rubbing it in my nose, right?
That was just stating facts.
Oh no, even worse.
We're just going back to the start where it just Fauzi's just getting revenge for that opening.
No.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot. Take
It
that.
wasn't even intentional.
Subconscious revenge.
He didn't know why, but he really wanted to rub it in my face.
I'm sorry.
Love it.
I feel bad now.
I deserve it. I deserve it.
I think all of you have said I feel bad now. Am I the only one who didn't feel bad this episode?
You should.
I should feel bad.
Find something to feel bad about.
Okay, well, I
Join
feel
us.
bad that I have to wrap up this episode now
Oh,
because we are out of time.
He's on fire today.
butter segue.
So, for those of you who do want to reach out, you can email us anytime at info@thehabibis.com. Don't forget to come at Osama, info@thehabibis.com. Then you can also join us on our Discord, discord.thehabibis.com. And beyond that, we will be back next Friday, inshallah, with another episode. For now, salam.
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 That was the Habibis podcast for this week. I was Rami Ismail, your host for this episode. You can find me on Twitter at @THA_Rami. My fellow Habibis were Osama Dorias, who you can find on Twitter at Osama Dorias, and Fawzi Mesmar, who you can find on Twitter at Fawzi Mesmar. Send us your questions, stories, and suggestions via info@thehabibis.com. The intro and outro music was provided by Malik Zubaila, and the logo was provided by Ibrahim Hamdi. The Habibis is a weekly podcast about 3 game developers drinking good Arab tea, with new episodes launching every Friday, inshallah. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcasting service or check out thehabibis.com for more information. Thank you for listening, and salam.